A young man and a woman embrace in each other's arms. You wonder what a romantic painting is, but wait. Take a deep look at that painting. You will see a heartbreaking depiction of a catastrophic war. If you haven't guessed already, we're talking about Huguenot by John Everett Millais. Huguenot is a Protestant who refuses to protect himself from harm by wearing the Roman Catholic badge on St. Bartholomew's Day. The title of this painting is Grab a Drink because it is long. When the clock of the Palais de Justice shall sound upon the great bell at daybreak, then every good Catholic must bind a strip of white linen round his arm and place a fair white cross in his cap, the Order of the Duke of Guise. The full exhibited title of this painting by John Everett Millais was produced at the height of his pre-Raphaelite period, 1851 to 1852. Therefore, the lengthy title of this painting is usually abbreviated as a Huguenot or a Huguenot on St. Bartholomew's Day. But why is this painting heartbreaking? Huguenots gained significant influence in France during the 16th century. They began openly expressing their faith, sparking a rise in Catholic hostility that culminated in a series of religious conflicts known as the French Wars of Religion. So this is why the painting is heartbreaking, as it showcases the sacrifice of many people. Who is John Everett Millais? Born on 8th June 1829, he was an English painter and illustrator. He was one of the founders of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. He became the youngest student to enter the Royal Academy schools at 11. The Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood was founded at his home in London. The painting named Christ in the House of His Parents gave him fame and made him famous for his exponential style. The painting also generated considerable controversy. He is also credited for the picture Ophelia. This serves as an embodiment of the historical and naturalist focus of the group. His personal life was also played an important role in his reputation. Effie, his wife, was formerly married to John Ruskin, the critic. He supported Millais' early work. Millais' change of style has been linked to his wedding to Effie. It is said that she was a powerful promoter of his work. They worked together to secure commissions and expand their social and intellectual circles. What does the painting depict? The painting shows an intense and moving scene of two lovers in a romantic embrace. Huguenot is the young man on the right of the image. At first glance, you can see that the painting appears sweet and familiar. Two lovers are lost in each other's arms, but if you observe it closely, it reveals the dramatic detail. The girl tried convincing her beloved to wear a white armband to save his life. I know you have so many questions. What is that white armband and how does it save his life? The answer is in a complex line, and more of this later. You can see a man and a woman in the painting, dressed in 16th century attire against the backdrop of ivy and lichen-covered brick wall. The title of this painting and the long quotation were from Anne Marsh's book Caldwell's The Protestants' Reformation in France, or the History of the Huguenots. This appeared in the Royal Academy catalogue. The painting depicts the incident that occurred on St. Bartholomew's Day, 1572, when a massacre of Protestants occurred in Paris during the Wars of Religion following the Protestant Reformation. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572 was a targeted group of assassinations and a wave of Catholic mob violence. It was directed against the Huguenots, traditionally believed to have been instigated by Queen Catherine de' Medici, the mother of King Charles IX. The massacre started a few days after the marriage on 18 August of the king's sister Margaret to the Protestant Henry of Navarre. Many of the wealthiest and most prominent Huguenots had gathered in Paris to attend the largely Catholic wedding. The massacre began on the night of 23 August 1572. King Charles IX ordered the killing of a group of Huguenot leaders, including Coligny and the slaughter. The massacre was a turning point in the French Wars of Religion. The Huguenots were crippled by the loss of several important people who were prominent aristocratic leaders. Many of its members were converted later. Those who remained became extremely radicalized. It printed on Protestants' minds the indelible conviction throughout Europe that Catholicism was a bloody and treacherous religion. These texts also informs viewers that the white scarf the woman is attempting to tie around a man's arm symbolizes Roman Catholicism. Wearing this would protect him from the massacre of Protestants. Refusing to wear this badge would result in death. The woman in the painting appears to be hiding behind the man's body with a white scarf wrapped around her left arm. The color palette of the painting. The color palette of this painting is mostly dark colors, primarily black and dark shades of green. Apart from the white armband, all other colors appear to be dark. The artist, Millais, conveys the same emotions and meanings as the context through colors. The armband is the only light for Huguenot in the darkness of religious war. It is his only hope of salvation. There are many other symbols similar to this. Some art critics believe the flowers have a deeper meaning as well. For example, the blue Canterbury bells, which can be seen to the left of the scene, are a symbol of perseverance and faith. But why did Millais choose this subject? Here comes another person who should also get credit for this amazing painting, not because he contributed to painting it, but because he persuaded Millais to choose the subject. It is William Holman Hunt. Pre-Raphaelite, the term refers to the art before Raphael. It is in the late medieval and early Renaissance periods. The Pre-Raphaelites were constantly attacked at the time of their alleged closeness to Catholicism and the Oxford movement, so Millais decided to depict a pro-Protestant subject to dispel doubts about himself and his colleagues. Inspiration for the painting. It is said that Millais planned to depict lovers in a less dire situation, but his Pre-Raphaelite colleague William Holman Hunt persuaded him that the subject was too dull. Instead, Millais adapted the painting to refer to the 1836 massacre after seeing Giacomo Meyerbeer's opera Les Huguenots of 1836 at the Convent Garden. In this opera, Valentine tries unsuccessfully to convince her lover Raoul to wear the armband in the opera. Timeline of Millais starting and completing the painting is interesting. While residing at Worcester Park Farm with Hunt, Millais completed most of the background near Awell in Surrey in the late summer and autumn of 1851. It came from a brick wall next to an orchard. Some of the flowers depicted in the scene may have been chosen because of the current interest in flower language. It is said that the blue Canterbury bells, for example, can represent faith and constancy. When the weather became too cold to work outside in November, he returned to London and painted in the figures. The man's face was based on Millais' family friend Arthur Lempriere, and the woman was posed for by Anne Ryan. The painting was shown at the Royal Academy of Arts in 1852 along with Ophelia and his portrait of Mrs. Coventry Patmore in Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge. This helped change attitudes toward the Pre-Raphaelites. This was Millais' first major popular success. In this medium, he created several other paintings on similar subjects to serve a growing middle-class market for engravings. The order of release in 1746 at Tate, London, the proscribed royalist in 1651 at Lord Lloyd Webber Collection, and the Black Brunswicker are among them. They were all successfully engraved. Smaller watercolor versions of the paintings by Millais can be found at the Higgins Art Gallery in Bedford and the Fogg Art Museum at Harvard University. A reduced oil replica in the Lord Lloyd Webber Collection. Rereading a Huguenot. There is no conclusive evidence in the painting or the quotation in the catalog. Despite this, critics at the time stated that the woman was Catholic and that the lovers were thus a kind of Romeo and Juliet, divided not by feuding families, but by warring fates with few exceptions. The Huguenot in Millais' painting depicted a critical juncture where he must choose between earthly love and spiritual devotion. Millais leaves the outcome of this conflict open to interpretation. Most critics assume that the man's faith would triumph. They cite his calm demeanor as evidence of firmness. The woman's emotional expression contrasts with a man's, which speaks of grief and tragedy. Well, what do you guys think of the heartbreaking painting showcasing a considerable catastrophe? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more such videos.